Stories is who I am. Is that my dance like nobody's watching? Sadly, yes, it is. That's a little embarrassing. For me, storytelling is something that just like it was in the sauce from before I was even conscious. There was no dodging it.
What do you think about being called a content creator?
It has a certain like heartless sterility to it that is not my favorite, but it's also one of those things that I don't what you're referring to when you refer to content is really about the relationship you have to what you're speaking about, right? Is something art? Is something media? Is something content? Is something entertainment?
Right.
Like these are kind of like big semantic or philosophical questions. And something is like a lot of my favorite things are simultaneously art, entertainment, media, and content all at the same time, right? So content creator is I think that on some days I'm like, content. Like we know it's kind of a gross word, but what it's describing is a relationship to this vast media ecosystem where what someone is creating might not be art and it might not be entertainment. So when you say content creator, you're just creating this very broad umbrella for something that might contain like, yes, it might contain artists and it might contain journalists and it might contain influencers and it might contain people that like see their role differently. So it's a very broad catch-all term that I think comes down to a relationship to the business side of things, which is like monetization. Like when you talk about being a content creator, what you're saying is our monetization strategy has to do with a platform. And so our relationship to how we keep the lights on and how we pay people is we have monetized the container and we need stuff to go in it.
Right.
Which is I don't know if cynical is the right term. It's extremely pragmatic. It's not a fun term for what you do. So it's not like I balk at the term and be like, I would never let someone call me a content creator. It's like, no, there's literally a platform that we need people to pay for so that all of our friends can keep their healthcare, and that thing, you need to put stuff in the box so that people will come into the box. And the way we have monetized it is they pay for a subscription to this shape that then has content inside it.
Right.
My aspiration is that most of the content we make is art and that most of the content we make is entertainment. That's the best case scenario. And that's how I relate to it. But like, even the term media is a little depersonalizing, right? Even saying like, I work in media is like, that's just a definition of a relationship, meaning like it is a medium between creator and audience. Right?
Yes.
And it's also interesting too, because in some ways content creator is more accurate because part of what I do is being an entertainer, but I'm also working in a producer as a capacity. Like there are a lot of producers that might not be entertainers, but are content creators.
Right.
Right. So that's a nice way to actually include more people than maybe the term entertainer could include.
That's a very good point. I'm curious how your relationship to social media has changed now, that because like you've been a big hit for Dropout on social media and you've been on some social media, but like you just joined TikTok recently.
Yeah.
So like I'm curious, how has that impacted your relationship with social media?
I'm going to let everybody know right now that the way I look at it is like, hopefully these are little storefronts that you can come, and if you like my work, you can see more of my work. Or it's an opportunity to share like pro-immigration, anti-ICE stuff, or it's a place to share, I just played Jeopardy for the Trevor Project. It's like, these are opportunities to promote worthy causes and give people that have clicked a button because they like my work, the ability to like get some of that work regularly in their algorithm, right? I will say I stay off social media for the most part. I work with a really incredible team of people. And by the way, everything that you see that is like Brennan, like that is like me related, is because of an amazing host of people. I am being weekend at Bernie'sing by an amazing staff at Dropout and Dimension 20 and Critical Role. I'm effectively a ragdoll that's getting hurled around by people smarter and better than me at all times, up to and including my amazing family. Like that's what's going on. And so that's very true of social media as well, right? Is like, there's a great team of people who are going through my previous work and like finding things to share for people.
I love that. Well, this is kind of a distillation of some things we've been talking about. But what do you feel drives you to create the content, the art, the games that you are creating?
It's a great question. The answer is that, and this is very corny, so apologies for a corny answer.
Corny or earnest, though, my guy? Come on.
Or, hey, there you go. It is earnest. The drive to tell stories predates my forming of like I guess my earliest memories were of being like a 4-year-old. By that time, I had already been asking my mom if she wanted to hear stories. She like wrote them down on her old Mac. Like, shout out to Elaine Lee, a brilliant comics author, sci-fi author. The moment I was verbal, I was getting feedback from my parents that this was good, that like telling stories was a good and interesting thing to do. And the reality is, if you ask like what motivates me to tell stories, the reality is that's like such a deep foundational thing. It's like I would have an easier time telling you about how the rest of my personality is built on that bedrock. That's like the tectonic plate. That's like the thing at the bottom. You can't go deeper than that. You hit lava. You know,
Sure.
like
Telling stories is who you are.
Yeah, I think so. And again, I know that sounds like saying telling stories is who I am sounds like a soundbite that would be like, that's like my inner heart's version of the like embarrassing cursive pillow that says like dance like nobody's watching. It's like, oh, stories is who I am. Is that my dance like nobody's watching? Sadly, yes, it is. That's a little embarrassing, but it's.
But I think that's beautiful, and I think that's why people connect to it, because like Dropout, we talked a lot about Dimension 20 today, but I think even across Game Changer, there are overarching stories that are being told, and I think that is what makes it not just funny, but makes us feel a part of it.
Yeah, I love that, and I think that like. Most people engaged in a human endeavor find a way to connect that endeavor to like a deep human mission. And it's true that whether you're a nurse or a farmer or a truck driver or you work, you I think have a legitimate claim to how the way you spend your days connects to the larger human project. And I think for me, storytelling is something that just like it was in the sauce from before I was even conscious. There was no dodging it. But my hope is that I have spent my days in a way where the thing I was probably always going to do, because temperamentally it's the thing I couldn't have dodged it if I tried to. My hope is that I have spent my time doing it in a way that other people have found usefulness, comfort, or utility in. And if that's the case, then so be it.
Well, speaking to that, what do you hope you're forging for creators and storytellers who are following your path? What do you hope they can learn from you?
I mean, the incredible thing there, right, is like the world is changing so fast. It feels like it's hard to know how someone could follow in anyone's path, right? Like there's this wild world of, every 5 years, it feels like the sort of kaleidoscope shifts and a new reality is out there. So I don't know that there is a way to follow my path, but what I can say definitively is that I didn't follow my own path. Like I've been playing D&D since I was 10 years old, and I feel like I had a 30-second heads up that this could be a career. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
So what I would say to people, right, is I observe trend watchers, market forecasters, self-styled like visionaries and gurus mostly with and not connect. And I know that I keep hitting this bell but in terms of like this age of media where the entertainment industry has these forces of, corporate manipulation to change it on a fundamental level. Look at the full court press. All of the vast powers of the world have tried to push a plastic AI revolution on media, and it is being roundly rejected by human beings in favor of things that are human, right? And I think that as a reality of that point, it's the same crowd that said, bad drawings of chimpanzees were going to be the future of finance, right? It's the same crew making bad calls. So my thing that I would say to anyone that wants to follow my footstep is don't make calls. Do not proceed into the world because these visionaries are eating it constantly, calling it wrong, face planting, losing. Now, they're part of a kind of modern financial aristocracy, so their loss never seems to manifest as actual consequences. Should probably think about changing our global economic system to stop that. But the point is, they're getting it wrong. You know who's getting it right? People who come from the heart and do something human. I can't say that doing that will always guarantee a broad connection with a mass market, but I can say that it will make something meaningful. That meaningful thing might connect with 5 people, it might connect with 5 million, but I guarantee you that the path towards a meaningful life is through, if you are interested in creative fields, is your odds are best when you do something that means something to you.
I do want to speak to Jeopardy because you were talking about how on Game Changer, the character is the Daffy Duck, the eternal loser. But you came full circle from your Who Wants to Be a Millionaire moment on Jeopardy. Tell me about that.
It was awesome. It was awesome. I love a game I can win. It was like a straight, fair game. It's very fun. Shout out to Rebecca Black and Monet Exchange, who were fearsome competitors in our trial run. They cleaned my clock. They wiped the floor with me. And the reality for Jeopardy is those questions, Jeopardy was very kind to a group of fundamentally performers and entertainers in constructing these questions that I think were extremely generous in terms of giving us a chance. There was no, in 1418, you're right. Oh, I'm in trouble, right? But I think that as a result of that, it really came down to the buzzers. I think all 3 of us were extremely well matched on our knowledge of the material that was present on that game board. And I have to shout out to Matea, who was my Jeopardy coach, who's an awesome Jeopardy player, because Matea said, look, people have different response times. You will be told to buzz when the lights go up, but your response time might be more sluggish. And for me, it just is. I have a more sluggish buzzer response time. So Matea's advice was, if that's not working for you, and in the first half of the game it wasn't, some people buzz in just at the last syllable of the prompt, even before the lights go on. And I started doing that in the second half, which is if you actually have a fast response time and you do that, you'll get locked out. But I knew that I was slow enough that it was a better bet to anticipate the lights going up. And as soon as that happened, I started buzzing in on that. And I think the way the game was working was that all 3 of us were going to get the clue, and it really was who's got the faster thumb.
It was very satisfying to watch, I will say. And we talked a little bit about Dimension 20, but I want to know, what do you think are the keys to Dimension 20's success over these many, many seasons as you guys have continued to tour? As D20 and the Bus has happened, as you guys have now hit the point in genre where you're getting a parody of the genre.
I'm going to give what I feel like is a really important answer to give, especially to journalists working in media. I think that we live in an age of hype and fraud. Let me get my soapbox underneath me for a second. We live in an age of hype and fraud. We are undergoing a massive $1 trillion AI grift for a thing that nobody wants and doesn't work and hurts the world to make it. And it is predicated in large part around an American culture of exceptionalism and silver bullet ideology. So let me say, the answer to your question of what makes Dimension 20 work is that there is no silver bullet. It is a massive team effort. Our incredible cast of brilliant comedians, each of whom in any given episode makes 1,000 brilliant decisions. Our incredible crew and the staff at Dropout, who piece by piece, moment by moment, make the right call with an artist on an illustration, make the right call as an editor with a cut to a certain camera. It is a victory in aggregate of more than 100 brilliant people. And it is so anathema, I think, to certain parts of our culture that are like, what's the unique vision? What's the brilliant insight? What's the thing you saw at the horse race track that nobody else saw? It's ingrained in us to want that, and that is BS. It's malarkey. Everything good in life comes from usually 1,000 or 1,000,000 invisible contributions of people providing care and thoughtfulness. And I think that is very true of Dimension 20. Dimension 20, if it has a secret sauce, it's that we work with lots of great people who try really hard.